predict what's gonna happen on this spending that the government is doing, and what's gonna happen to money, basically, if it's just all debt and the debt is just gonna go parabolic. What's gonna happen to money, and where should we position ourselves in our portfolio during this time?
Time to take your wealth to the next level. Welcome to Learn Wealthy, your go-to channel for real estate insights, market charts, and golden opportunity. Let's build wealth.
What's up, Learn Wealthy community? How are you doing? Today I want to talk about a very important topic, the U.S. national debt. I don't know if you've seen this clip in about 2 weeks ago. Editor played a video.
Mr. Speaker, and to my friend from Missouri, thank you. Actually, sometimes I come behind these microphones, and often what I want to share, what I need to share, it's my therapy, is a bit dour. And it's sometimes fun to listen to someone that actually has happy and joyous. All right, now that the uplifting portion of this program is over, let's get to the facts. Mr. Speaker, or now Madam Speaker Pro Tem, you see the number, 35 trillion. Guess when we hit it? We should be very, very excited and proud of ourselves. We did something that so many economists said we would never get to this quick. My math says this coming Friday, 3 p.m., the United States gross debt will cross over 35 trillion. Now understand, that's not the way Europeans calculate our debt, which they calculate our debt dramatically higher because of our obligated unfunded liabilities. But you're going to watch the Treasury Friday about 3 p.m. post up a number, $35 trillion. We did it. Congratulations. And how many people have you heard come find the microphone today or this week, understanding, wanting to talk about that? What we've gotten is people coming behind the microphone and not telling the truth. We all want to protect Social Security. The way you protect Social Security is you know the math and how it actually works. We're on track in a decade to double senior poverty. But God forbid any of us tell the truth about math, because the truth gets you unelected and a bunch of really angry ads at home. So this place runs around and avoids telling the truth. So let's walk through another little factoid. My math basically says this year, 45.68% of all the income tax collections, receipts, your government takes in just cover the cost of interest.
So that is the sad reality that we're in. We have a lot of debt as a country. This is government debt, by the way. A lot of this debt is through the U.S. Treasuries. For all you guys who don't know, the U.S. Treasury issues a bunch of securities into bills, notes, bonds that you and me can buy, and people from around the world and other governments and other banks. And this does a lot with the this plays a role in the production of money and how money works and is circulated into the real economy. And yeah, because tax receipts seems to be not enough for all the government spending that we have, and that's why they do this. The U.S. Treasury is the Treasury bonds and bills is basically a liability of the U.S. government, and they basically have to pay this to people, to individuals. They promise people, let's say, 4% yield on a 2-year Treasury, or right now the short end of the shorter term Treasuries are a little bit of a higher yield right now than the long term Treasury, and that spread is uninverting now, where the higher yield Treasury is gonna be a higher yield again, and will most likely indicate a recession. So let's get back to this debt. Why do we have this debt? What's going on here? I'm in a chart here of the Federal Reserve's website. Total public debt. As you can see, the Federal Reserves, I guess, don't have enough staff or economic PhDs to update their website. So we're here right now at Q1, first quarter of 2024. It shows that we have a 34 trillion, because that amount, it says the amount plus this says is millions of dollars, so that's in trillions. We have a 34.5 trillion in debt in Q1 of 2024, right? And then here's a more updated version in the US Treasury. I think you can even update this via penny in real time. I'm not sure, I haven't tried this, but currently we actually have 35.1 trillion in national debt from our US Treasuries. And the reason for this is our government's insatiable spending, right? For power, to get votes, and for everything else that they promise to everybody that they can't afford. So let's learn what money is and what the point of this video is to kind of predict what's gonna happen on this spending that the government is doing, and what's gonna happen to money, basically, if it's just all debt and the debt is just gonna go parabolic and all the way up, and what's gonna happen to money, what's most likely gonna happen to money, and where should we position ourselves in our portfolio during this time. Okay, that's the goal of this video. So what is national debt? Yep, that's our national debt. Let's go to the monetary, the M0, or base money on the Federal Reserve chart. Base money is basically the most liquid money. I have a definition here. On Go Banking Rate. M0 is referred to as monetary base, includes all money in circulation, including money banks hold in reserves. According to the Federal Reserve, there was about 2.3 trillion in circulation as of February 2024. So that's the base money. Basically, you got the base money, and more money is derived out of base money, which is the M1. The M1 is the narrow money. It says here, N1, it includes the M0 money, all the M0 money, plus adding the money held in traveler's checks, demand deposits, other types of checkable deposits, and negotiable orders of withdrawal. As of February 2024, we have M1 money as 17.9 trillion. And then you got the M2 money, or the broad money supply, the M2. And that M2 is, it includes all of the money currency from M1 supply and expands to include mutual funds, smaller time deposits, money market securities, and other types of time deposits. M2 security are usually less liquid than M1, meaning you can't convert M2 money into cash as easily. The total stock of M2 was 20.78 trillion. So basically, usually when they say money supply, they're going by M2 because it's everything that's created. M2 is derived out of M1, and M1 is derived out of M2. Of M0, sorry. And M0 is the most liquid, and it gets less liquid as you go from M1 to M2. But basically our M2 money supply is, 21 trillion. About 21 trillion. Again, this is June of 2024, right? And as you can see, they created a lot of M2 money supply, just printed out money from 2020 to like 2022, right? That span of time, they went from 15.3 trillion to 21.6, 21.5. I would think that's about 30-40% of the money supply in M2 created during past the pandemic, just like that, right? That's the M2 money supply. So that's about how much money we have in circulation, 21 trillion. And it kind of went down here. So about 20.9 trillion. That's how much money we have in currency. And as you can see, that can't even pay all the money in circulation, in existence inside the US. Can't even pay how much debt we have, right? Basically, we're only paying the interest on that debt every single month on that US Treasury. And the percentage of the interest that we're paying on that debt is growing year after year. So here's the US Treasury website. We got the let's go to spending. There you go. So this is our spending of the money they're collecting from tax receipts and their money, their balance sheet. So you got 1 trillion going to Social Security. Percentage wise, about 14% is going only to the interest on that debt, and that is just increasing. We only have 21 trillion. We only have 20 on M2 money supply. We only have 20 something trillion, right? And our national debt is 35 trillion. We have other spendings too. We have Social Security, healthcare, Medicare. It's all two different things, I guess. We have national defense. We have income security, veterans, all that stuff. Education, transportation, community. See how transportation is so small? We don't need all this government. Transportation is like 2%. That's what I feel that we really just need the government for, because they are so inefficient. So we don't even have that much money coming in the money supply. We don't. Our tax receipts that we're earning is only about, I would say, these are tax receipts. Our tax receipts is only about 4 trillion now. Back in 2022, it was 5 something trillion. Now it's just 4.47 trillion in government tax receipts. This federal revenue decreased by 15%. But that's just federal revenue. This tax receipts. So it takes about, because our spending on the interest, in dollars, 700 billion. This one, interest. Our interest are paying on our debt, let's say 700 billion, close to 1 trillion, right? And we're only getting 4 trillion in tax receipts. Therefore, the US needs to get loans in form of treasuries in order to fund all this spending, right? And it's just unsustainable. I believe a lot of people can agree. I believe there comes a time in a person, within a person, or in a company that who has a spending problem, that they'll be like, am I still able to pay this debt? They'll start thinking, right? Am I still going to be able to pay my debt, or do I have to have to make a decision that I'm going to go towards bankruptcy and just keep spending? There comes a time in a corporation or a company or an individual that they'll have to decide that. And in many ways, the U.S. is just like a company, because it has an income statement and a spending, and it has its balance sheet. And I think with all this unsustainable stuff, I think the government is leaning towards that they're eventually just gonna file bankruptcy. I think they're gonna lean towards on just keep increasing their debt to infinity, and just sustain this, just kick the can down the road for as long as, and part of the, I believe one factor of our inflation is caused by this national debt, because money is becoming worthless as more debt because money is created through debt, right? Money is created through loans. Let's say a person gets approved from a commercial bank for a mortgage for 200,000. That loan, that money is created. So with all that currency generated and all that this debt just getting unpaid, the supply of money will just increase, and against goods and services, there's gonna be so much money. There's gonna be so much money supply against goods and services, and it will just cause so much inflation. And I believe the government is leaning to inflating the currency to infinity until it has no more value, like Zimbabwe or Japan. I mean, not Japan, Germany. Zimbabwe or Germany. And I think that's where we're headed. And why we're analyzing this is, I think, to position ourselves on where we need to position our portfolio and ourselves in this scenario. Because I don't think the government is responsible enough to pay this debt, right? I don't think they're... I'll show you, let's go back to the national debt on the federal charts. So back in the day, they're creating... See, they have 4 trillion. They have 1 trillion debt, about 1 trillion in debt on 1982, 1981. They have about 1 trillion, right? They didn't go to 1 trillion in debt. They didn't go to 2 trillion in debt till 1986. So it took them about 5 years to get to 2 trillion. And then it's going to take them about 2 trillion. 2 trillion in 1986, right? 3 trillion in 1990. It took them about 4 years to get to 3 trillion. But now they're just creating 1 more trillion of debt every few months, every 3 months, I would say. Right? So right here, first quarter 2022, 30 trillion. Second quarter of 2022, they made another 500 billion. Third quarter of 2022, they made another trillion, basically, from this first quarter. And now it's a lot faster than that. This chart is not even updated to this is only Q1 of 2023. So Q1 of 2024. So Q4, right? This just becomes parabolic and just goes out of control. So that's the story of the US's financial problem, and they have and these people are giving us credit scores, and so yeah, it's all this spending and liabilities that's really out of control. The politicians will promise this and that, this and that. They don't say reality that our tax revenues can't afford all this stuff, so we're gonna have to get some loan from all over the world through U.S. Treasuries, and that U.S. Treasuries is gonna be paid by future taxpayers in the form of interest on the debt. So yeah, all this government debt is going to be paid by our next generation, our future, our kids, and this is where we're going. Now, how do you position yourselves? How do you position your kids' future to fight this this habit of the government? This is spending disease. It's a habit. It's a bad habit that they'll never fix because how things are made.
This video is not a financial advice. We are not attorneys, CPAs, or financial advisors. This video is made for entertainment purposes only, so do not take them as financial advice. We do not know your personal specific financial situation. We suggest you seek an actual financial advisor for real financial advice. Thank you.
So to me, I say, if the government decided to actually be responsible and cut on the spending, it can go two ways, right? If government decided, and we're only playing probabilities here. I know I'm leaning towards the fact that they'll inflate their money towards infinite debt, right? I'm leaning towards that. But we're only playing with probabilities, and we have to be humble to know that we don't know what the government's going to do. So right? If the government actually decided to be responsible for some reason, they cut all the spending, which I don't know how they're gonna do. So I would say the value of money is gonna go up. There's gonna be increased in stuff. There's gonna be increase in production in the economy, and there's gonna be probably a good deflation or a lot of disinflation, and the value of dollars is gonna get stronger. So in this good scenario, that to me is a very little chance. It's basically not gonna happen. That for me, the chance of this happening to me is really small. This scenario leads to a more powerful US dollar, more powerful cash, more sustainable economy, more sustainable government. So and basically our US dollars is just basically a product of our government, right? It's not real wealth. It's not anything. It's just a piece of paper or some digits in a computer that we believe in because it's backed by a US government, right? That's all it is, right? It's not real wealth. It's not like gold, silver, potatoes, farms, cows, those are real wealth that you can barter no matter what, if there's no government or not. So these US dollars, right? So if they do all the spending correctly and they minimize all the spending compared to how much their income is, like a reasonable normal person or corporation, if they start to be responsible, then I'm going to lean towards a stronger dollar, but I'm not leaning on this. So I'm thinking a very small ratio. So I'm actually, a very small percentage of my portfolio is in dollars, in bank accounts, but I still have to diversify because I still have a small percentage chance that this can happen, right? So this is not an investment advice. It's only what I'm doing in my life, I'm just, so I have a conviction that this scenario will happen like the least likely. So yeah, I have a little amount of money on my in cash, right? And most of my money is in real estate, because to me, if we're in the scenario, if we're in the scenario that the government will just keep causing inflation by increasing the debt and increasing the money supply, they're just gonna keep increasing the M2 money supply, and they're just gonna keep increasing the debt all the way to infinity. Then to me, it makes sense to have not just any debt. You can't just have all the credit card debts and all the stuff that you can't afford. I know inflation erodes debt, but I wouldn't just get any debt. Of course, I would like my interest on my debt to be less than the inflation. I want inflation to be more than the interest of my debt. I want inflation to be 4% or 5%, let's say, which I believe will reach again very soon because the way the government spend their money. And my interest on my debt, I want it to be just 1%, 2%, 3%, less than the inflation. So I would have like negative real rates. And then I would also want my debt to be backed up by a real asset. So if I have a like a rental property, let's say my rental property next door. I live next door to one of my rental properties, right? So let's say I have a debt there of 150,000, right? 150,000, and that debt is not only my tenant is paying for that, because their rent is 1,700 and my mortgage on that is only 13 something hundred. So they're paying for it every single month, and I have extra cash money for it. Other than that 100,000 debt is getting, that 100 something thousand debt is getting eroded by inflation, right? So I would lean more on since the government and the U.S. Treasury and Federal Reserves, Federal Reserve is like a pseudo government, right? It's part private. Since they're showing that money is nothing but debt, that money doesn't really have a value and it's only a game to them, I would lean more on just playing games with it as well, and using debt as a tool to amass wealth. Because of that, I'm gaining assets. I learned this from Robert Kiyosaki. He's the first guy who started my spark of like love of real estate and finance. He's like the father of father of finance and real estate, I would say, for a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah, since the government is not responsible for this money that they're putting out, they don't have any sense of responsibility to what people are working hard for, then I decided that I don't want to work hard for it. And I hope you learned something today. That's Learn Wealthy for you. If you want more of these videos, please subscribe. Please comment. I want a conversation. What do you think is going to happen? Are the government eventually going to be responsible? It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters which left or right. There's never been a government that's been financially responsible, I would say. The bigger the government, the more responsible and inefficient they're going to be. So if you like these videos, please subscribe and start a conversation with me. And please like this video if you like it. I'll see you in the next Learn Wealthy video. Thank you.